Hey guys, it's Maylee. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about my tips and advice on how to make the most of your experience during online college. Due to COVID, I know that for a lot of us, school has been transitioned to online. I know that everybody's living situation is a little bit different, like you might be living on campus in the dorms or off campus in a nearby apartment, or maybe you're an out-of-state or international student and you're nowhere near campus. I want the tips in this video to be something that anyone can do, like whether you're near your campus or not near your campus, because I do understand that this is a very disappointing situation to be in. Like, trust me, I was looking so forward to college and going back. So yes, I totally understand how you guys feel. So whether you're a first year student or a returning student, I hope that these tips will give you some actionable ideas and ways to stay involved. I'm going to be separating it into two different sections. So the first section is going to be more towards like academic, like grades and such. And then the second half is going to be more social, clubs, extracurriculars, Greek life. So my first piece of advice is to reach out to your classmates. You might be wondering, how do I find my classmates if I'm not actually going to class? Some things that I've seen that have worked, usually there will be like a roster of who's in your specific class. So you can go into that and, like find their name. Sometimes an email or phone number is attached to that. And you could just reach out to them and say like, hey, I was looking at the roster and I saw they're in my class and I'm looking for someone to like exchange notes with or to study with. And from my experience, everyone has always been super friendly when I reached out. So definitely that's one way you can reach out to people. Another way is if you have like live lectures on your computer, for example, like Zoom lectures with your professor. Usually all the other students will be there, so you can get their name and you can just look up their name on Instagram and DM them and say like, hey, I was like looking through the Zoom lecture and I noticed that you were in my class. I'm looking for a study buddy or something like that. Another way that I've seen that's pretty popular, usually there will be a class of 2023 or like class of 2024, like your class Facebook page, and usually people post things in there to like introduce themselves or find roommates, but I've also seen it be used to create group chats for specific classes. So sometimes I'll see posts where people are like, hey, who's taking Econ 101? Like drop your Snapchat or drop your Instagram and I'll create a group chat. So go onto your class's Facebook page, see if there's already a group chat started, and if there isn't, you can be the one to post and say like, hey guys, I'm thinking of making a group chat. If you're in this class, like drop your Snapchat or Instagram. And then another thing that I've seen been done is that usually there's like a discussion forum on our class website. So for UCLA, we use this program called CCLE. I know that every college uses a different program, whether it's like Canvas or Veracross or whatever you guys use. Like usually there's a discussion forum that the teacher will allow you to ask questions, and sometimes students will just post on the discussion forum like, hey, I made a group chat, like here's a link to the group chat and feel free to add yourself. Usually those things will be on the app GroupMe, so I definitely recommend downloading that. I use that app all the time in college for different group chats for clubs, for my sorority. So yes, there are many ways that you can reach out to people. So I guess this could go both under the social and academic section, but the reason I'm putting in the academic section first is because having someone who's in the same class as you can definitely be helpful, whether it's if you want a study buddy, so like before midterms, going over your notes together, or if you're confused on a homework problem, or you have to miss class or something and you need some notes. Just having at least one person that's in your class can be super helpful. My second piece of advice is to go to office hours. So obviously right now it's probably not going to be office hours in person, it's going to be virtual. And honestly, I feel like that should make it even easier to go to office hours nowadays. Like you don't have to get out of your room and then walk all the way to your teacher's office and then walk all the way back. But yes, I highly recommend that you go to office hours. Oftentimes I found that by going to office hours, I have learned so much more information that they didn't necessarily mention in lecture, but is super useful and definitely helpful for like a midterm or a final. Sometimes they go over extra review problems that end up being really similar or the exact same as the problems that are in the midterm or final. Sometimes they re-explain a concept or re-explain a practice problem that makes it make a lot more sense, or sometimes they show like an easier version to do it. And the obvious one is like you might have questions yourself and you can get them personally answered. Even if you don't have any questions, I still recommend that you go to office hours at least like once in a while, because you'll find that other people have some really good questions, some things that you may later realize that you had a question about. Another reason to go to office hours is to just introduce yourself to your professor or TA. It allows them to put a face to your name, and especially now when we're not seeing each other in person, it can be, helpful for them to to know that like there's an actual person who's listening to their lectures, and maybe when they're grading your exam or your homework, they might recognize your name and say like, hey, I remember her, she goes to office hours all the time, and they see your name and recognize that, oh, she's put a lot of work into this, and you never know, like maybe that might help you out a little bit. So I mean, it doesn't hurt to just introduce yourself. My third piece of advice is to virtually meet with your college counselors. This is something I would especially recommend to freshmen who are picking out their classes for the first time. It's really helpful to talk to someone who is specifically trained in that department to help you choose out your classes and help you create your 4-year plan, make sure that you're taking the classes that you need to take. I would hate for one of you guys to take a class thinking that you have to take it for your major and realizing later that it was the wrong class. So, just better be safe than sorry. And again, just like office hours, you don't have to actually go and walk all the way over to their office. Since it's virtual, you can do it from the comfort of your own room. Another piece of advice is to check the ratings of your classes and professors. This isn't really something specific to the fact that college is online. Like, I do this whether college is in person or not, but it is so helpful. There is a huge database online out there about what classes are easy, what classes are hard, which professors teach the best for which class. A website that's pretty universal and that many colleges have is called ratemyprofessors.com, and yeah, like many colleges have their professors on there. And then for UCLA specifically, we have a website that rates all of the classes and the professors. That website is called bruinwalk.com. That is such a lifesaver. I am always on Bruin Walk when I'm registering for classes. If you don't go to UCLA, I'm sure that your college has some sort of specific ranking website that's like made for your college courses. So I definitely go online and like look that up. I remember in my freshman year, I took this one class, just randomly chose it. I didn't know about Bruin Walk at the time, but if I had checked the ratings, I would have known how difficult that class was, and I just took it as a GE, so it wasn't even like necessary for me to take it. It wasn't required for my major at all, and yeah, that really hurt my overall GPA. I really wish I did not take that class. But on the flip side, there was a class I took during winter quarter, and I checked this class's ratings, and everyone said it was like a super easy GE, so I took it, and it was amazing. Like, it was so easy. I literally slept through almost all the lectures and still got an A. So, it made my winter quarter less stressful. If you're just trying to get your GEs out of the way and you don't really care what classes you take, like, why wouldn't you take an easy one, So definitely research that. And then also I recommend researching about those specific professors, because usually for those required classes, like say you're an econ major and you're required to take Econ 101. Usually there are multiple professors who teach that course, and since it's the same course and it's going to count as the same sort of credit, you might as well take it from a professor who teaches the material well and is also, not a super difficult grader. Usually what I'll do is I'll look at what required classes I need to take for the year, and if I notice that like, oh, the professor that's teaching it fall quarter has really bad reviews and is known to be a really harsh grader, then I'll wait till winter quarter to take it and hope that there will be a better professor then. So if you don't have to take it right away, then I recommend waiting until you find a professor that has at least some good reviews. My next piece of advice is to create a study schedule. This means blocking out certain times of the day that you're going to specifically dedicate towards studying. This can also be super helpful if you're living with other people. If you guys block out some time where you just specifically study, or even if you guys have different schedules and they know when your study time is, then that way they won't distract you. Having a specific block of time where you have to study during this time or complete your homework or whatever it is, that will help you stay on task and focus and make sure that you're actually using that time to get your work done. And during that time, I turn off all my notifications. I turn them off on my phone, my laptop. Usually I'll even put my phone like out of the way, like either on a really high shelf or inside a drawer, so that way it's not like right next to me and I don't have the temptation to like check my notifications. Okay, so that's all the tips I have for academics. Now moving on to more social life, like clubs, organizations, Greek life. So yes, definitely get involved. There are ways to get involved even though it's virtual. UCLA, and for the most part, like many colleges, are going to be offering a virtual club fair. I highly recommend going to that because that'll give you the opportunity to see what clubs your college has to offer. It can be really hard to pick and choose which clubs that you want to be a part of in that moment during the club fair because there are so many different options. So what I recommend doing, and this is what I actually did last year at my club fair, is I signed up, like I put my name on the roster list for whatever clubs and orgs that I found were interesting. Then I would attend the first 1 or 2 meetings and really find out which clubs I was genuinely interested in, like after I got to know the people in the club and after I got to find out what they actually do. Then it was easier to narrow my selection and find what it was that I want to commit to for the rest of the school year. Another tip is to follow different clubs and organizations on social media. So usually most clubs will have some sort of social media page. Usually it's Instagram, that's what I've seen for the most part. And that's where they'll post pictures of things that they've done and what their members are like. This will give you some sort of picture beyond just what they say during the club fair or what's on like a pamphlet or something. Especially for those bigger clubs and organizations, they usually have a social media or marketing team. So like they have a team that's dedicated to running their Instagram account. I definitely recommend checking them out, and don't be afraid to like DM them if you have any questions about the club. In my opinion, joining clubs and organizations is one of the best parts of your college experience. Looking back, it's definitely a huge highlight of my freshman year. Like that's where I met a lot of my friends and made the most memories from my freshman year. So yeah, I highly recommend just like at least checking it out and seeing what's out there, because your college probably has like hundreds and hundreds of clubs. I definitely think you'll find one that you like. Okay, and the last subject that I kind of want to touch on is Greek life. And I've gotten a lot of questions recently from people asking like, hey, I'm not really sure if I should rush, like do recruitment now that it's virtual, and like what's your advice on that? So in my opinion, I really think it depends on what you want to get out of it. There are definitely pros and cons of going through recruitment in the virtual process. So I mean, the pros would be that you automatically get to have a group of people that are going through the same situation as you, and you guys all get to navigate the whole Greek life process being virtual. If you're a freshman, you'll meet other freshmen. Another pro of recruitment being online is you can do it all from the comfort of your own room. I personally kind of liked recruitment, which is super controversial to say. Like so many people bash on recruitment and talk about how much of a struggle it is, which I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely very hectic and it can be stressful at times, especially if you're in a hot climate. Like I go to UCLA, and when I was going through recruitment, like, you know, having to run from house to house in 5-inch heels and a dress in the hot summer sun wasn't the most comfortable experience. So huge pro, if you can do it from the comfort of your own room, you don't have to go through that. And then you have these established relationships that when you go back to school, like go back in person, you'll kind of already know them and it'll be super exciting to finally meet them in person. But on the flip side, in terms of cons, that would be something that you're missing out on. You would be missing out on going to different houses like in person and meeting different members of the different sororities in person, talking to them in person. Another thing you might be missing out on is bid day. If your bid day is virtual, I know that some colleges are having in-person bid days, like they have virtual recruitment and then in-person bid day. So it really depends on your college. Like I would definitely check that out, but that's something to consider. If you're going to be doing the whole thing virtually, then you would have a virtual bid day, and bid day is definitely a memorable, exciting experience. That's the day where you find out what sorority you're in and you run back to the house and you guys have like a party at the house. So I definitely enjoyed my bid day and I'm glad that I could experience it in person. So yeah, that's my advice for Greek life. Like it really depends on what you want and what you want to get out of Greek life. Okay, that is it for today's video. I hope this helped you guys out. I really just wanted to make this and give you guys my tips and advice. At the same time, I think it's important to recognize that this is an unprecedented time and it is a difficult time. So, you know, be gentle with yourself and don't put too much pressure on yourself to get the perfect grades or to join all the clubs or to have the perfect quote-unquote college experience, because trust me, first of all, there's no such thing as a perfect college experience. And second, we are going through a global pandemic. We are going through a historical time. It's okay to have bad days and it's okay to not always feel 100%. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because I don't want you guys to pressure yourself to like have the best experience that you can, because I definitely know that I put a lot of pressure on myself. Like, oh my gosh, like everyone says that college is so great, I need to be living it up every single moment, but you know, we're human and it's okay to take some time for yourself. And don't forget, you're not alone. You're not the only one going through the situation. I bet there are a ton of people your age or in your grade that are feeling the exact same way as you. So don't be afraid to reach out. And since we're online, like you might as well make the most of the experience. But yes, I hope this video helped you guys out. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. Lots of college content coming soon, so stay excited for that. And don't forget to follow my other socials like my Instagram, my TikTok. I'll have it all linked down below. And until next time, I hope you guys are staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!